So there was no PR merge. Oh yes, I merged one recently, but since last week nothing but this one. So we'll assume Zoltan fixing that JobsQueue will fail if there are a large number of tasks. So what is it about? Oh, let me look at the comment. JobsQueue now works in batches to prevent transaction timeouts, and the manual job execution feature uses batches as well. JobsQueue use batches.
Yeah, so what we discussed under that issue too, the immediate problem was that if you have many jobs, since JobsQueue will just execute all of them after each other, eventually you will get transaction timeout. Now there is a new transaction for each batch.
What do you mean transaction timeout? A transaction of what? A database transaction?
Yeah, the database, yes.
Okay. So we are not processing a job in its own transaction.
No.
I thought so. Interesting. That's weird. So yeah, then you put a number, but that's weird.
So that's those are background tasks that are executed in their own transaction.
But there is a background task to trigger the process.
Yeah, but
then this one will execute all the jobs, right?
Yes. So
in the same transaction.
Yes. The difference currently being that it will still execute all the jobs, but for each of the batches there will be.
Honestly, I would have thought that it will create a new transaction for each job, not even a batch.
Yeah, well, we could do that too. Just that somehow jobs are a bit smaller entities, like compared to background tasks. So not necessarily.
Well, they might not even access the database. It's just, I think, yeah, they should be a different transaction. Because if they are completely different, for instance, and one fails, it means it will revert the previous one. I would think it's bad. I'm not saying your solution is less bad, but the fact that you show that, I mean, they should be independent.
Yeah, that's a good point. Although, of course, before that, the whole job processing failed.
I agree.
In this case.
Yeah, now it's just then.
This could be even better. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Yeah, if that works, I would agree to just create a new transaction every loop. If nobody sees any issue with that, let me comment on the issue then. This one from Arman, which is an optimization of calling getTheme, now is using our context.current theme, which will be processed only once. It's internally calling that, but it's caching the result. And during a request, we always have the same theme. So it's using current theme in many locations. There too. Okay, so that's it. Orchard 2. Fetching. So 7 days, 7 days, 7 days. So Antoine started the LinkField. And he made it, so now it's approved. It will be merged very soon. I approved the PR. So LinkField, what is a LinkField? A LinkField has only a URL and a text. Okay. the URL being mandatory, but the text being optional, because from the settings you can decide what the text will be of the URL, meaning in the link that is generated in the front end, or you can say that the text is required or optional, like, okay, static, required, optional. So URL and text, and I think that's about it for the options. You can define a default value for URL and text, this one, and that's the option to define the text. So that's a very simple field, but that's a new one. Okay, so that's what Antoine has been working on. Nick has been working on Glimpse, so he's trying to, well, he ported Glimpse from an old RC compatibility version for .NET Core to RTM, and integrated it in Orchard 2. We got some issues with SQL, but apparently fixed it. And now it's blocked on some specific features or some ordering of the middlewares. So I'm not sure he will continue that unless the bug is fixed on Glimpse side. And but I think he started something else. He didn't commit anything, but I think he will start something else. What was it? We talked about it yesterday. What did he start, or what will he start? Oh, maybe some refactoring on the modules and MVC that that Orchard will not require MVC if your modules don't require MVC. So you can have a set of tenants, or all your tenants without MVC, like using Nancy or just plain ASP.NET. So he's trying to extract MVC. And I already have a branch which did that, so he will try to see what I did and repro it on master. And also a sub-goal is being able to have MVC as part of the tenants middleware, and not a global middleware that all tenants will use, just to be able to have different configurations per tenant. So he's trying to do that, but there is no commit right now. What did I do? Adding alias and content item ID cache tag support. This is on master. This is on master. So the idea is that, let me show you. So if I take the theme, I clicked, I need to wait. The theme, the layout, in the layout, there is a menu which is injected, like we would inject a widget. The layout here injects a menu shape, which will render the menu named main menu, okay, using its alias. We can use a content item ID or an alias to name something, and it will load the menu and render it. But this menu shape here is cached because we have a cache ID, okay, with the name main menu. It's cached, and it's cached for 5 minutes. This is an example, and it's cached for 5 minutes. But what we need to do is to be able to invalidate this shape when 5 minutes has gone, or when any element of this menu, or sorry, yes, when this menu has been updated, including any of its elements. As a reminder, a menu content item in Orchard 2 contains all its menu items. So if you change a menu item, you're actually changing the menu itself. So when the menu is changed, we need to refresh the value. So we can just remove the cache entry when the menu itself has changed. And to do that, we can say that this shape will vary by, or will be invalidated using the tag called alias main menu. So the cache tag lets you define what will update the cache entry. In this case, alias main menu is a tag that will be applied to this menu because it's the content item represented by the alias main menu. Okay, so you can tag a shape by what needs to invalidate it. In this case, the main menu content item. So when the main menu content item will change, this entry will be removed. So the goal is that with the cache, so the cache tag was already supported. Okay, this is something which was supported. What was not there was the fact that when we render the shape, it will be tagged with the content items that it's rendering, and also the fact that when the content item is changed, it will inform the tags that they should be removed from the cache. In this case, this one and others. And the ones that were created are there. So the change first, let me show you the change, which is simple. Where am I? This one changes. Shape tag helper, this is just refactoring. Layout, this is that. This is the user menu. In the menu part, display driver, this is just a bug fix. Content handlers. So the content handlers, when a content item is published, we load the iTag cache and we say remove the tag content item ID colon and the ID. Okay, so we remove the specific cache named content item ID with the ID of the item. Okay, if something has been tagged with content item ID colon. Then from the auto route, we will also say when an auto route thing has been changed, we call remove tag alias part path, because the auto route is an alias too. Okay, part path. So when this item, when something with an auto route has been changed, we say remove tag alias with the path, and with the path after as the alias. And in the alias part handler, same thing. An alias part handler is a part with custom aliases, not just the path, the URL. And in this case, if it has a custom alias, we say, okay, let's remove this custom alias from the cache. Okay? And it's documented. So if we go in the modules, and we go where did I put that? Dynamic cache. Here, it's explained. Oh, it's updating the dynamic cache. So the dynamic cache here is described in this page, and I also added the name of the cache tags that we can use already. Okay, alias and content item ID. So you can depend on specific content items or specific aliases. Okay. That's it. And this way, whenever we change the menu, then it will be updated on the front end. This was not the case before. So that's done. Then a branch refactoring recipe execution. So two things. I wanted to be able to introduce there are questions. Please interrupt me if I don't see them. Yeah, opinions. Yeah, maybe, but consistency. That's fine. Fine. Okay. Are cool is an opinion. Less easy on the eyes is also an opinion. Two opinions in one sentence. Don't say you don't have opinions, Bertrand. Oh. It's not an opinion, it's a fact that you have opinions. Yes, sure. Two opinions in a sentence and one fact. Boom. Refactoring recipe execution, two ideas. So the first idea was that I wanted to implement the environments, sorry, not the environments, the parameters for a recipe. So remember that a few weeks ago I introduced the variables in a recipe. So if we open a recipe, blogs. If I open a recipe, I can have variables, okay, and define some script and reuse this variable somewhere in the recipe to have the same value in different nodes of the recipe, okay? So I have this, oh, there and there and so on. Okay. And the next step was to be able to define parameters in a recipe so that the recipe can describe a list of values that it needs to be able to run. Okay, like you need a color because the recipe will assign a color to some specific content item. I know. So you need the user to be able to provide a color. So I refactored to be able to do that, and by doing that, I also added some default parameters that will be present depending on the context. And in this case, the default parameters for a setup recipe are all the values that are available on the setup screen. So now, did I do that in this branch? Parameters? No, not in this branch. So now, oh, it hasn't been merged. That's why. If I look at the updated recipes now, if I can find one, where did I update? Oh, maybe if I look at the last one, last commit. No, let me check on the pull request. This one. Oh, and I updated the documentation. Beautiful. Yes, so this is an updated recipe here. So in the blog recipe, in this case, when it's creating the blog and the blog post, I'm updating the modified by property, the author, which has been also renamed, with the parameters named admin username. So this is a parameter coming from the setup screen. Okay, this is not requested by the recipe, but it's provided by the setup. So because it's a setup recipe, it knows it has access to that. Okay, so now when we execute a recipe, we can pass an object containing any properties that has been gathered from the UI, either requested from the recipe or because the system is providing some environment variables. So for instance, in this case, from the recipe, we can reuse all of this, like the site name. If you want to reuse the email to send an email or to validate the email is correct, I don't know, to whatever you want to do. Copy the password in some insecure location, that's fine too. It's part of your recipe. Questions? No, still with the thing here. No, actually, yes. They are just string format when you compile them. They are just string format. How do you think we can add extra parameters from setup page? The idea is that the setup module will be improved, and there will be a next step. So when you have the first page, which are the default values for the setup, you could have the button to trigger another page if the recipe you selected asks for more parameters. Okay, like advanced field, something like that. That's the idea. So this is from the setup screen, and from any recipe which is not a setup recipe. But then when we select the recipe from the admin, it will show you the UI that you need to create. And the idea is that this UI will be automatically generated from the metadata that is inside the recipe. For those who've used Azure, ARM, Azure Resource Manager, ARM templates, this is highly inspired from that. As there is also suggested in a previous meeting, is it now possible to set variable from a command? I think you know it's not yet done. I don't think so. I don't think so. Variables, but that's a parameter. If it's from the command line, it's an input value, so that should be from parameters. So you can extend my PR with that in the comments. That will make totally sense. I think by maybe, well. Yes, let me show you something. Recipes, command. So there's a recipes command, and I must have updated the call to the execute recipe async. Where is the execute recipe? So this one is just listing the recipes. Okay, there is no command to execute a recipe right now.
So Sebastian, I think what he's talking about is the ability for a recipe step to add to the variables that are in scope for the recipe. You know, we talked about a couple of meetings ago.
Can you repeat? So in a recipe.
Yeah, so I had suggested that you should also be able to add new variables or update existing variables with new values from that step.
Yes. You find an issue, I think.
I don't think I got around to doing that, but I think that's what Sergio is talking about.
Yes, we could. Yeah, I say yes. We could do that. Yeah, like okay. Yep, but no, it's not done. An orchard command in the recipe. Well, yes, you can. Well, if your question is, can you use a variable in an orchard command in the recipe? Definitely.
I think he means a step.
Well, I'm reading an orchard command in the recipe. Yes, an orchard command step. Me too, I'm also meaning the step. So if you have a command step in the recipe, you can use variable in this command step. Oh, okay. To output variable values from commands. Well, yes, then we need the special support for assigning variables from a step. Okay, I see now. So yes, you could use variables as input of a command, but what you want to do is also get outputs from the commands as other variables. To be done, but yeah, that's interesting. Sergio, please file an issue with this example so we don't forget and someone can do it. Or when I feel like I want to do it, I'll do it. But yeah, that makes sense, totally sense. That a recipe returns some value and can assign some variables. Great. Okay. And just looking at the PR, I saw I put some notes just about the changes. I removed a bunch of classes that I think were not useful. And now it's parameters. Yes, you can use parameters. That's it. Okay, so that's for this one. Glimpse. This is I explain what. But yeah, it's the new glimpse. It looks very nice, but the development is lagging right now. So Nick is fighting with it. We'll see how it goes. A fix from Jean-Thierry, who's working on dependency ordering, Antoine's thing, and this is a PR I submitted this morning. I worked on it this weekend. I made some changes on the names of the properties of the content item. Before last week, we had only a modified by property. On the content item, modified by, which is supposed to be the last modifier. Okay, the user who modified the item last, and because a content item object is a version, and if you keep the versions, then you get access to all the previous modifiers. Okay, you have only that. But what was missing was the owner, which is invariant. So like, and also grant some rights, because you own it, you can do stuff that people might not be able to do because they don't own the content item. So this is part of this PR, which is adding in the content item an owner, like in Orchard 1, okay? And I renamed modified by to author. So the author is the one who created the version. And owner is the one who first created the content item or is set as the administrative owner of the content item. And like in Orchard 1, to be able to change the owner, there is a custom editor that now is provided by a part called CommonPart, which kind of has something related to CommonPart in Orchard 1, but at the same time just provides editors and no specific data. It's just a marker part to be able to define settings if you want to show the date editor for the created date or owner editor to change the owner of a content item. And to be able to change the owner, you also need the site owner permission, like in Orchard 1. So that's the PR. And you see where it was using content.modified by, I'm using now owner to show the owner of the content item, not the one who changed that. For instance, if you create a blog post and it's written, you are the owner because you created it, so it's your name on the blog post which is defined. And if someone modifies a blog post, like fixes a typo, you don't want this editor to show up as the author of the blog post, so we use the owner, okay, in this case, like an Orchard 1. So that's it for the PR and the changes in Orchard 2. Questions? We merged, I didn't see that in the list of, oh, I missed a bunch of them because I looked at the 7 days ago. I missed a bunch of them. So Sergio has been working again on, continuing his work on Auth 2. And because he's here, we'll repeat that whenever you can, please make us a demo. We want to see how it looks like and what you can do with that. 10 days ago, Antoine started working on LinkFields. The feeds module was merged and has been updated to support the feed burner-like proxies. So now you can define your proxy for your feed. Refactoring from Nick to remove the null localizer, which are no more needed in Orchard 2 because we have DI. And that's all I missed actually, so that's good. Okay, good. Questions, comments? Topics.
So this is, well, probably more like an initiative than a demo. And we have talked about this a while ago, well, a very long time ago, and now finally we have something to show. And it's Orchard Ambassadors. So what's the thing about? The point here would be to have some community members, not selected, but rather who would volunteer to do some Orchard evangelization in their local development communities and help them in this work. So this here is just a website, and the idea is kind of half-baked or just an initial one, but we can fill it with some actual content. I mean, the idea and the website as well. So just a quick glimpse of the website here. This would be a page to showcase what people are there volunteering as ambassadors. So under find an ambassador, how is it pronounced? Ambassador, whatever. So under this page, we would be able to see where these people are. Well, obviously this is just demo content. So applications will be open after this. So there is no Liam Wheeler or Vernon Gregory in the Orchard community. If you don't know them, don't feel bad. They are not existing. And we could also think about various ways, everybody in the Orchard community, especially those who have a company and provide some services, we could think about things to help these ambassadors with, apart from obviously giving them some exposure here or on orchardproject.net. But here under resources for Orchard ambassadors, there are some tips and some links to help you if you want to showcase Orchard in a community that hasn't heard about Orchard yet. So yeah, let me also paste this link into the chat window. So basically the question is whether it sounds good, and if yes, what can we help such people with? Whether there are few people, one of them being Abhishek in India, who would like to be an ambassador and do some local orchard evangelization. So the question is how we can help such people, or whether we need such people, or everybody just do whatever they would like to have. The application page. Oh God. Yeah, this is very minimalistic, and it shouldn't look like this. This should be some combinator issue.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Sorry?
I didn't know what he was mentioning, but now I get it.
Yeah, the application page misses styling. That's bad.
Well, that's some styling. That's default one.
Yeah.
Is it ugly?
94.
Is it an opinion that it's ugly or a fact?
Bertrand didn't even state an opinion, I think.
Well, Bertrand could be a good dictator, like everyone of his opinion is a fact, so no? Is that the definition?
So, would we like to have some ambassadors? We talked about this still in Alicante too.
Yeah, it made sense at that time. It still makes sense. So I assume anyone could be an ambassador. There is no filter. There is an application, but
well, not really.
The filtering is really low, right?
Yeah, probably the current ambassadors, well, they are none currently, could have some could have a saying in that, but I don't think that apart from some extreme cases, anybody would be filtered out.
So if I compare it, it's not MVPs because you don't have to prove anything. You just have to be. Well,
yes,
that could be a question.
Yes, it's not MVPs. So basically, it's not about proving that you can do anything, but rather that you want to do something. So you can be a total newbie in Orchard, but you don't filter on that.
Okay, so you can be an ambassador. Another thing about Orchard, kind of bad, right? Because if someone asks for an ambassador and someone says, "Oh, I can do that," to explain what Orchard is and to promote Orchard, and doesn't know anything, and
that's a good point. Yeah, so probably there should be some baseline.
Because if it's you are on the ambassador page just for advertisement and show off your company, just to say, yeah, we can do that, but we never did.
Yes, I think that definitely you need to do some activity to, well, probably not to get to be, but to remain listed here and get some recognition. So I'm for example thinking about going to local developer meetups and talking about Orchard. We could have some.
At least I've made
templates.
One site, some site or some activity on GitHub or.
Oh yeah, actually the application form, which is not really beautiful now, has a references text box. So yeah, some activity that you had in the Orchard community development.
It should explain that if you have no previous experience with Orchard, don't apply.
Yes. Yeah. So and naturally you can be more honest or about Orchard if you actually know that. So obviously you need to have some experience with Orchard.
So when Bertrand say, apart from obvious spam, I'd not put any barriers to entry. You mean technical or logical? Because I assume we should not put any technical barrier, but okay. Well, so anyone could be an ambassador. Okay, but I don't think so. You need to provide at least some references. If you say, I've never done anything with Orchard, I want to be an ambassador, I'm like, no.
Yeah, so we should definitely filter on having some Orchard experience and visible community activity. Yeah, spam filter. Yeah, the JavaScript anti-spam part is on the forum, I think.
Maybe there's a good middle way that where we don't have to put any obstacle, like require people to have a certain amount of experience with Orchard, but we could explain that it's, to be an ambassador you should have. Like you shouldn't think about being an ambassador unless you've actually worked with Orchard and feel yourself that you're in a position to explain it to people and to advocate for it and help.
So I'm not talking about technical implementation. The form should be free. You can submit as many times as you want. The spam is just the one who gets the emails issue. Okay. But we agree that when there is a submission and there is no reference, we should not accept it as an ambassador. The guy who received the submission should say, there is no reference. No, I won't add you as an ambassador.
What do you mean by reference?
Like, you made a website, you have done something with Orchard.
So does it have to be like an existing website that you can go and check out and verify that it actually exists?
Yes, we should check the site exists. Or the guy says, I am, I don't know, a griffer on GitHub, look at what I did. And
Yes,
I don't know.
Yes, I think a GitHub profile would suffice as well. So not necessarily a website that you have created.
Anything. When I say anything, I mean if you provide nothing, then it's not accepted. If you provide something that we can verify, yes, why not?
I don't know. What if you've just been sitting around in your home for 2 weeks studying all you can think of around Orchard just to try and learn everything that you can, but you haven't really built anything?
So what is an ambassador already, Sultan?
What I mean is we should definitely encourage people to actually know something about Orchard to be an ambassador, but I think it might be a bit hard to reject them if they have nothing to show for it.
I think that basically any community activity that's recognizable would count. So if you commented on issues, even if you asked things, if you had some posts on Orchard Pros or Stack Overflow, even asking again just for information. So you can actually prove in a way that you have spent the last 2 weeks learning Orchard.
I think if you say that you spent the last 2 weeks learning Orchard, I would say it should be enough.
Okay, that's a reference.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a provable one, but at least it's a claim of experience and a claim of knowledge. At least from the beginning, to get people onboarded to this, if we're serious about it, I think that should be the level of, barrier to entry.
Well, obviously the next thing is that, for example, if that person goes to a user group and tells about Orchard, well, everybody would like to have the truth told be there, truth be told there. So probably
I've seen professionals who looked at Orchard and then talk to businesses to say, hey, Orchard doesn't support media, so you should use WordPress. So what do we do with that? If they don't like, and just to point to emphasize what Sultan is saying, if they have no experience and they will say things which are not right, because Orchard has media management, I think. So
probably just sending in the application form could be, so to say, allowed for everybody with even minimal activity. But after that, we can have a Skype session and actually have the person, if they are not at that level already, to have some understanding. If they have the willpower to really evangelize Orchard, because that's why they are applying, right?
Yeah. Is there a rating or reputation system built in for these ambassadors that people who enlist their help can rate their performance or knowledge in some way for others to see when they search?
No, it's just a simple directory.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe that would be something to consider. That you can, gain a rep as an Orchard ambassador.
Yeah, I agree. As soon as you try to put some limits and validation and everything, it can be hard to do and more painful than useful. Yeah, even if someone says something wrong, even a specialist could say something wrong. And if you want to talk about it, yeah, why not? And if you start accepting ratings and comments and everything, then the guy will say, that's wrong, I was right, or whatever, and please remove this comment, I don't agree with that.
I'm trying to think back to the times where I've been put in the position of being an Orchard ambassador, which is, I'm realizing it's a lot of times. And one thing that you showed a page where you had some existing resources. I didn't get a chance to look at it closely, but one thing that would be helpful that I could have used in the past is sort of tips on how do you convince this type of person that Orchard is a good technology choice.
It's exactly about that page, by the way.
Okay, yeah, cool, good.
Mostly it's about that. And yeah, so we could gather such tips, but also more tangible things like, I don't know, a basic slide deck for a 10-minute demo or a 10-minute introduction of Orchard, or a demo app or a demo recipe, things like that.
The developers have never, in my experience, been the ones who need convincing. The people who can be skeptical at first are, one, the IT manager or the people who are dealing with the IT infrastructure and have sort of an overview responsibility for all of the systems that are used, and these kind of IT level architects, those are always sort of skeptical. And the other people are the content editors that know nothing about development or theming or anything. They'll just be responsible for going in and creating content and editing articles or whatnot, and they're used to a very smooth kind of user-friendly experience. They've often used WordPress a lot, and they want everything to kind of look like WordPress. And when you show them Orchard, in my experience, often they sort of go, "Oh, this doesn't look user-friendly enough," or it's Markdown and they're not familiar with Markdown, or like these types of people.
What people also ask often, I see, is tables comparing different CMSs feature set and CMSs. Do you do that, like list all you can do and please file the table for me?
Yeah, so requirement matrices.
And also maybe a description of what Orchard wants to be, because it's not a CMS that wants to be everything to everyone. It's it's a CMS that's suitable for when you're looking for sort of like a hybrid between a CMS and a development platform. It's good for when you're looking to do some custom development, but you want CMS functionality to start with.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I think I also agree that Orchard is kind of that, or that should be the point of Orchard, and the distinction between Orchard and other .NET CMSs.
So that's some information you put on the website to explain to everyone, depending on the audience, what you are, and it's already designed in the site that Steve and Antoine are working on. Different audiences, what are the key information for you to realize what Orchard is, and is it for you, and why is it for you? And then there is Zoltan's site where we need slides, reusable slides to be able to express these ideas, probably. And that's more resources than just general information. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good summary.
Like you don't go on the ambassador site to understand what Orchard is and who is it for. You know what it is, but you want the files to have the points already written down for you to reuse in some slide decks. And okay. So next step for ambassadors. We agree that no barriers in the ambassador sites. Just ask for references. Something we could do, just to prove that someone has good knowledge, is the site could itself rate somehow by giving some badges, like, I don't know, like you say, if you know the guy or if you have a Skype with them and they are well known in the community, like let's say Lombik, you know, we can give them a badge saying well-known company providing orchard services. Okay. I don't know, if not rating from anyone, but from the committee who could assign badges and not. I don't know if we can do that, because if you get Lombik as an ambassador, and I assume a company could be an ambassador, right? And then you get who is bad at orchard here? Brett. You get Brett. Who will you call? Brett knows everything, but if you want maybe you want to call Lombik, I don't know. Brett will be a good ambassador, by the way. I'm just using his name, but that's bad.
I would probably add badges for specialties, like I don't know if you have very good front end or
that would be a good compromise. I agree. Yeah.
So it's not like a rating system, but rather something that's more objective.
And maybe these badges will require you to have some references in the domain. You can't say, I've read 2 weeks about Azure and Orchard, and I can give you good advice on Azure and Orchard. Maybe, no, just please prove us that you have achieved something, and then you will get the badge. Like, okay.
That's a good compromise.
Cool. I've taken some notes. I'll probably, I don't know, open an issue about it just so we can discuss.
Okay, good. Thank you. Great. George, if you want to invite me to your meeting, that's fine. Please ping me. Okay, good. Other demos? Topics? Just because I think about it, we'll merge, what's his name? Sipke, your colleague. Crap.
Chris?
No. Sipke, no.
No, Taher.
Taher. His PR will be merged on Thursday because now he applied all the changes we asked for. Zoltan, it's the one you wanted a demo for, but it was already done. The OpenID authentication branch, and so that looks good. I'll match it on Thursday. That's the big one that I'm thinking about. What else? A release of next version. So Antoine is in charge of releasing 1.10.2. So Antoine, when will it be done?
No.
What? You asked for it.
No. People are asking for it.
Do it. I'm sure you can do it. I can show you. And yeah, whenever we take the time to do it, it's ready. So let's do a last verification and ship 1.10.2 before harvest. Okay, we'll ship it before harvest. That's a stretch goal.
Didn't you show once, Sebastian, you had like a full-page document of all the steps you need to go through to make a release?
Yes.
Is that in your OneNote, or is it published anywhere?
It's just a checklist. It doesn't explain what to do, so
okay.
You will not be helped with that. Like if it tells you tweet from the Orchard CMS account, you're like, yeah, good. And if you don't have the password to access the web API, the web API platform, then same thing, or the Azure portal. So yeah, but it's just
Right.
yeah. So
That was actually my point. It was a rhetorical question. But
yeah, no.
probably why
If
Antoine
anyone
probably
wants to
can.
do it, pings me and we take 2 hours and we do it. Boom.
Okay.
Otherwise, yeah, I will. I have to juggle with everything. So okay.